Hello, welcome to TCKid Talks, an interview series featuring movers and shakers from the third culture and cross-cultural community. Today we have as our guest Tayo Rockson, founder of TayoRockson.com and As Told by Nomads podcast series. Tayo, would you like to tell us more about As Told by Nomads?
Well, first of all, thank you for the introduction, Myra. I really appreciate the opportunity to reach out to your audience and to introduce myself to the audience. I guess to answer your question, the As Told by Nomads podcast is basically a podcast that brings together TCKs and global nomads, world travelers, all over the world, expats, and people that associate and identify with different cultures. I just bring them together on the show. I interview them. They talk about their journeys towards, embracing their global identity. We also talk about some of the challenges they faced and different ways they turned that into advantages. And it's all about embracing, the positive aspects of being multicultural, multifaceted, and how you can use that to make an impact.
I love it. I've listened to some of it, and I listened to your last speaker who said, it is important to be around people who see you as you are. And I may be paraphrasing there, but that's such an important point. And I love the different people that you interview there, because each speaker provides something special for the community.
Yeah, no, I think what you said is true. Last person, the last episode was Nora Magaha, and she has traveled to so many countries, and I think a lot of times as TCKs, we have this valuable, unique gift of being embedded in different cultures, but a lot of times we don't realize it, right? So and there are many people that are not like us in the sense that we go to countries where people are already deeply rooted in there, and it's not easy to find someone who has equal backgrounds. So I think what she was trying to say there was that if you find someone with similar experiences like another TCK, they can definitely help you identify and show you that it's not really a bad thing to be different, and it's really okay, because it's your identity. You mix different cultures, and that's completely okay. Not everybody's born to be the same. I always say, this is my mission statement, use your difference to make a difference, because I believe everyone is innately different, whether you're a TCK or not. And it's important for us to tap into that difference and see how we can make a difference with that. So I think once more people like yourself start showing this, I think it'd be great for other TCKs, global nomads, and expats to really, really embrace what it's like to grow up in the world.
That is awesome. Can you repeat that mission statement?
No, I can do that for sure. It's use your difference to make a difference.
Use your difference to make a difference.
Yes.
And I was also reading your full mission, because on your blog page called TCK on a Mission, can you tell us a bit more about your mission?
Okay. Right around that, the idea of using your difference to make a difference, my goal is to help build the next set of global leaders. I say, I long for a day when East and West can sit down at the same table, and North and South, and they can share stories and experiences, because I believe there's so much that we can learn from each other, and I believe as TCKs and global nomads, we have innate abilities to be able to reach out to different cultures, whether it's through business, government, art, whatever. But our experiences growing up have given us skills that allow us to communicate across boundaries. And if we're not able, if we focus too much on the negative aspects of that, we lose sight of the positive that we can do. We can go out to different regions in Africa, or I'm Nigerian, so that's why I said Africa first. But it could be Asia, anywhere, or Europe, and be based on experiences. Maybe we grew up in a similar background. We can go and talk to someone and say, hey, let me help you out with that. I understand this is what I've done here. This is what I picked up in this country. Maybe we can implement it here. And just going there and understanding that, hey, we've had this tremendous diverse background. Why don't I come up with a software app that can help fix this? Or why don't I come up with a business structure that can help do this? And I think if too many of us start doing that, we start to build a whole community of people that are making impacts in different pockets of the world, and that can hopefully build the next set of global leaders.
That's so true. That's so true. And you said innate, and maybe some people think we're being a little snobby sometimes when we talk about our TCK background. I remember you were talking about that in one of your other podcast series or podcast episodes, and someone mentioned that sometimes when we talk about our past, living in different countries, it sounds like we're being snobby to other people, but the truth is that's our childhood.
Mm-hmm. No,
like,
yeah, you're right. Go ahead. Sorry.
and just like I have relatives in, who grew up in LA, and just as the way they say, I grew up in Glendale, or I grew up in Harbor City, or Torrance, it's the same thing for us. It just happens to be a different location. But because we also lived in different countries, we have something to offer to other people who did not, the way people who grew up in one place can offer something to us that we never experienced. Mm-hmm. It's just that the global nomad lifestyle is associated with maybe elite lifestyle because of the travel.
Yeah, and that's not even necessarily true, because within the third culture background, you have different types, right? You have the expats, you have the old kids, you have the missionary kids, everywhere. And for people to assume that everyone's elite in that class would be very, very wrong. It's just, missionaries go there for a mission and to spread the gospel. You have oil kids and business kids doing different things because of their father or mom's job. You have the expats, and you have people that do it on purpose, like world travelers and global nomads. They just go out there, or photographers, travel photographers, and people just do this, and it's just their lifestyle. And I think too many times we could get grouped into the whole, stereotype as one whole group that just, you lived everywhere, so you're cooler than us. But I think if anything I've learned from all my travels is it's not that we're cooler. It's that the world has so much to offer, and we can definitely, we're on a journey to discover ourselves, but the more we travel, the more we realize we don't know. And that in itself is exciting. So I think sometimes it's a shame that it does come off that way, but there's no other way to describe where you're from. If someone asks you where you're from and you say, I'm from Sweden and here, Burkina Faso, Nigeria, and all that, it's just what the truth is. It's not like, you can't lie.
You can't pretend to be someone we're not.
Yeah.
And especially when we maybe talk about the food we crave, that's on a menu that's only available in very elitist restaurants. And so I could understand why people think the way we do. But that's why I'm so excited for resources like your podcast, because it gives the story behind the stereotypes.
Yes. And one thing with stereotypes, I'm not going to say I've never stereotyped before, but it's something that I consciously make sure I don't do. The stereotypes limit a lot of people. I can't tell you how many countries I've gone to, and there was a preconceived notion of how they are, and then you go there and you realize it's not true. And while I understand that, yes, some stereotypes are maybe because of many people in one culture do that, I think it's more important. I think stereotypes are a lazy way to understand a culture. You can't just say, black people. I get this all the time. I'm Nigerian. I'm always assumed as African American, and that happens. I understand that because looking from the outside, I probably do look African American. But then when I tell them I'm not, because of the way I sound, it's like this shock. I just said, I have to argue them. No, you're not. Yes, I am. No, you're not. But it's a preconceived notion, and I think sometimes stereotypes hinder us in discovering who people are. I think we have to be very careful about just assuming everyone in a certain area is that, because I can tell you I'm not a typical Nigerian, and another Nigerian could tell you that maybe I'm not. But I think the discovery of someone else needs to be worked on more, and that's something I'm also trying to do with the podcast, because it's based on TCKs and global nomads, but I want other people in the world to be able to see that everyone is different. You could have a white person that could identify with a Japanese culture more than he or she does with his or her passport country, and that's just because of the way he or she has lived. And he might not look like Japanese, or she might not look like Japanese, but it's just where you grow up and who you associate with that sort of form your personality. So.
Yeah, the one thing I when I was growing up, I didn't know that there was a term called third culture kid, but I did notice that I felt different because I was very sensitive to stereotypes. I was very sensitive to narrow-minded
Yeah.
expressions and statements. I was very sensitive to it because I lived a whole childhood feeling like I was bigger than any stereotype or label or category that ever existed. And that's why I felt I was so sensitive to it, and I'm so sensitive to, stories of injustice or stories of discrimination. And I also noticed that on your blog, you mentioned that as part of your mission, you say you want to replace discrimination with appreciation. Can you tell us
Yes.
more about that?
Okay, so I've said this before. I say it as many times as I can. I'm Nigerian. Nigeria is a wonderful country. I love it to death. It's one of my homes, and it's probably the only passport I have. But in Nigeria, because of the way Africa is carved up, we have several ethnic groups and split up in different countries. But Nigeria is so diverse. We have so many different ethnic groups, and then the two big religions are Islam and Christianity. So 50% Islam, 40% Christianity, and you have about maybe 200, 300 different ethnic groups. But most of them don't get along, and it's always bothered me growing up. And the idea that you're under one country and you're trying to advance that country's goal does not seem to resonate with a lot of people. I mean, you can see it with the girls that were kidnapped, which really it bothers me so much. The girls that kidnapped in the country by the Islamist terrorist group. It's people trying to force people to conform to their culture instead of trying to appreciate the other culture. And I see it all the time when people say you can't marry someone from another group, instead of trying to say, well, why can't I marry someone from that group? Maybe I can learn something. Maybe my kid will have the best of both worlds. But no one sees it that way. It's like, no, my group, we stay together. It's not that. So I saw a lot of that, not just in Nigeria. I see it here as well. I see it everywhere. Whether it goes to race, religion, ethnic groups, or just people stereotyping based on class, saying, oh, well, where do you come from? You come from, your dad doesn't even drive a Bentley. Different things like that. And I think that causes more problems than than it solves any. I think that if people started to learn the value of appreciation, a lot of the problems will be different. A lot of wars are caused because people want to invade another country and say, well, you should be part of us, or people, some are religious wars where they say you need to conform to this, or some are ethnic wars where it's like you want to wipe out another ethnic group, just genocide. It's just because people think there should be supreme. And if you really sit back and think about it, if people learn to appreciate, it might, a lot of these problems will not be as pronounced as they've become. I think it's a shame sometimes, but I want us to remind ourselves that we live in a world with over 7 billion people. You are bound to have 7 billion different people. It's okay to embrace that. Yeah. So.
And I think for the most part, a lot of people who don't realize that they're stereotyping or making major decisions that are very discriminatory, I think a lot of times people who think that way don't realize that there are different experiences, or it's a fear of the unknown.
Yeah. You can learn so much, right? You can learn so much from that. I can't tell you how many times I've learned just by hanging around with someone with a different culture. It's just, this is how you do things. So maybe you just learn how they eat, how they pray, or how they welcome people, how they welcome guests, how business cultures are integrated with their, and different things. And there are different things you can implement in your own lifestyle. There's no one culture that's better than every other culture, and that's one of the things that I think TCKs are privy to, because they don't have one culture. It's that third culture. It's a mix of every all the cultures they've been exposed to, and that monocultural mindset is something that I feel like we can help educate the world on. So.
Yeah, it's also valuable, all the interviews you have on your podcast. And also you have a free ebook for the community. Can you tell us a bit about the ebook?
Okay, all right. I guess I should give a little bit of a background as to why I really started becoming more of a, voice and TCK advocate on this. Is I was sitting in a conference with Ariana Huffington. She's one of the people I look up to. So she was doing a book tour for her book, Thrive, and she made one statement. We were sitting down. It was a conference, and I was just curious to hear what she had to say. But she was joking about how her kids made fun of her accent. He said, "Hey, mommy, you don't sound, you're," because they grew up in America, and she grew up in Greece, London, or England, and here. But I think they're all rooted here now. But they were saying you sound different. And she said that statement. She was trying to make a point, but as soon as she said that statement, I wrote the title of the ebook that I wrote. And the reason why that statement resonated with me was because I knew what that meant. Where the daughter is saying, "Why you sound different, even though you're American or you're something else? You don't sound the way you're supposed to sound." And I call that the supposed to syndrome. That a lot of people have. What is the supposed to syndrome? You're not supposed to be anything. But as soon as she said that, I was like, there's probably a large pocket of people in the world right now that would say that don't look like how they're supposed to sound and don't sound like how they're supposed to look. So I started writing on that. The book starts off with like an intro with the TCK, and then it dives into more. I mix my biographical experiences, and I just talk about the different ways that TCKs can become global leaders. Because I think it's a beautiful thing that we've had, and I think as people we should try and embrace this more. I think there doesn't have to be one accent or one way or of living. I think if more people sounded different, if more people did something different, the world would probably be a better place. So that's what motivated me to write the book.
And what is it that drives you? What has it that has driven you to write this book and to start your mission? What is the inner drive you have to do this?
Wow. For as long as I can remember, I've always been inspired by the possibilities that we all have as humans. So I say this all the time: things, books, music. I get inspired by all these things. For example, the person that really inspired me was the late Nelson Mandela. Someone that can spend 27 years in jail and still come out to lead a nation full of people that put him in jail. I mean, he was able to overcome, the whole apartheid system. And then you have someone like Oprah, who's able to turn her talk show into a global media, empire that reaches nations beyond America, and just by tapping into her skill and using that using her difference to make a difference. She changed the talk show game and then made it into something else. And now everyone, she doesn't even, you don't even have to say her last name. You just say Oprah. But, and then, this is a song, Am I Wrong, by Nico and Vince, who, it's by two immigrants from Norway who are black, but you never associate black with Norway. It's like, wait, there's Norway. Aren't they supposed to be blonde, tall, blue-eyed? But, these are Norwegians that are, making music and just talking about different ways they follow their dreams. So I'm inspired by the power of the human spirit. And I think that every human has the ability to do something, TCK or not. And I think that, just knowing that keeps me going every day, and seeing that it resonates with other people, reminding them that they can reawaken their inner drive, their inner passion. That's just what inspires me. The possibility of the unknown doesn't scare me, because unrealistic things don't scare me too. It's almost, if someone told you that a metal could fly in the air and float and take you across countries, that's unrealistic. But you can't think that way. I think some human decided to say, I'm going to make an instrument that can fly across nations, and I'm sure, you know, there were a lot of haters and people saying that's not going to happen. Are you kidding me? Gravity, all that. But you have to dare to think different. I think I just want to remind people that that's possible. So those kind of things are the things that really inspire me, just knowing possibilities that we can have once we've set our minds to committing to goals.
Right? And what would the world be without dreamers, right?
Exactly.
And any major change and revolution that happened in the world had to start with a dream that dared to imagine something different from what we see around us, right?
Exactly. Yeah. We're talking because of a dream. We're talking on Google Hangout here, and this could not have happened 20 years ago. I mean, social media is another thing that makes the world flatter. I often joke and say Ferdinand Magellan was wrong because I know he sailed around the world and supposedly he proved the world is round, but you know the world is flat. But the reason I'm saying that is because digital media connects everyone right now. You know, you're in Texas, Texas, right? Texas. I'm in New York. I talk to people in England. I was talking to someone in Singapore the other day. It was all through Skype or Google Plus, and it's, you know, these are. If someone said a few years ago, oh, I can create some video platform that can connect me to someone else, and the internet connection is fine. No, some people would have laughed at the person, but look at us now. So, their dream.
It's really beautiful, isn't it? How we could use technology to make it work for us rather than us being a slave to technology. That's when it's beautiful.
Yes, yes, yes. That's a good point that you said. I think it's how you use technology. That's very, very, yeah. I couldn't agree more.
And I noticed on your blog you say that you want the world to know more about the beauty of TCKs. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us one thing you notice about what makes us beautiful?
You know, I think what makes us beautiful is the fact that we're just, you know, we're exposed to different cultures. And when I'm saying beautiful here, I'm not talking about physical sense. I'm talking about it's almost an abstract concept here, where it's the idea of beauty, the idea that we've seen the world from different lenses is beautiful in itself, and that often reflects on ourselves. And that's what I hope the world sees. It's like I want someone to be able to see you and say, I see Malaysia, I see China, you know, I see Romania. Yeah, I think you have the country. I see the other countries there, and I can hear that in that accent. You said boot or trunk? What? You know, I mean, how do you sound that way? That's the beauty I'm talking about. And I want people, you know, to just be curious about, wow, I didn't know Russia had that. I'm going there next time. And instead of just, you know, taking the typical, you know, I don't really know. What I know about it is from what I read in books. You know, I want people to be curious to find out about people more. So I think that beauty that reflects in us is what I was trying to say there.
I like that, the way you put that. So it's more like the beauty is in the way we connect, not just the way we connect with the rest of the world, but how we absorb what we appreciate in the world.
Yep, exactly.
And then reflect that off, and then how amongst us we learn from each other.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's the whole goal. Hopefully, you know, I think organizations like yours, I think it's amazing that people, you know, what you and Bryce have done. So I think we're well on our way there. So I commend you guys for that.
Thank you so much.
No problem, no problem.
And it's almost time for us to come to a close. But before we do, I want to know if you have any advice for people out there who want to see a change in the surroundings around them.
Okay. Well, this is something that I've been using a lot. Confucius said it. Henry Ford said it as well. So I'm going to modify it a little bit. So it's he or she who says he can, and he or she who says she can't, are both usually right. and that means basically, if you want to go out and do the change, Gandhi also said this, you know, be the change you want to be. So if you say you can't do it, then you're not, then you can't do it. But if you say you can, you can. And it's really, there's no like easy way to ever get there. I mean, even the billionaires that come from old money, some work was put in there, and there's ridiculous work ethic that takes there. But if your goal is to do something big and you feel like you have a talent that can do it, you have to put in the time, but you also have to believe that you can do it, because part of that self-confidence and self-worth is important, and the internet gives you a platform to do that. Now, whether you have an audience of 1 or 10,000, it doesn't really matter. You have to start from one person at a time. But if you start, say you wanted to do something with crafts, arts and crafts, or you wanted to write a book, or maybe you had an ideology that you wanted to get people to do something, you can easily grab 2 or 3 of your Facebook friends online and, create this closed platform and start testing it out, that software. If you want to do something with crafts, you can put it online, use Instagram, different things, and start sharing it, reaching out to different people. Now you can tweet a celebrity. They're not going to always respond, but I'm just saying there's access. You just have to believe it, and then that drive, coupled with hard work, will usually get you where you want to do. The failures that you learn, that you come across that journey, are ultimate lessons. They say experience is the best teacher. So it's just going to make you be a better person. Edison, before he made the light bulb that I'm under, he said, he found like over 9,000, I think it's almost 10,000 different ways not to make a light bulb. I mean, he failed several times. That's a lot of times to fail, but he said he just found different ways not to make the light bulb. So if you can adopt that mentality, I think it'd be great. Whether someone's telling you, get away from me, I don't want to hear about your culture, whatever, come back. There you have 6 billion 900 something million and 99 more people to go. So there's a lot of people, a lot of resources. You just have to tap into them.
Exactly, and it also goes back to what one of your speakers says: get away from the people who don't see who you are. I think is what she said.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, Tayo.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to surround yourself with that. Sorry, I know you're about to close. You don't want to surround yourself with people that drown your positive energy. So make sure you do that.
That's awesome. It's very inspiring to spend time with you today. And Tayo, is there any final words you want to say about your podcast?
I mean, it's on iTunes, as told by Nomads. It's on Stitcher, as told by Nomads. All you do is type in that. I would love it if you guys subscribed. Let me know how you feel in the form of a review, or you can reach out to me on my website or Facebook, Twitter. I'm everywhere. But if you go to TayoRockson.com, you can see the links to everything. And if you want to listen to the podcast, I will subscribe to it. It's as told by Nomads. And please, let me know what you think and how you feel like I can help out, or how you feel like you can help out. I'm really interested in you guys out there. So that's it. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you, Tayo. You've been very inspiring to us, and I do hope for those who are out there watching and coming across Tayo Rockson for the first time, know that this will not be the last time that you'll hear from him, because I'm sure he has a great destiny ahead of him where he'll be providing a lot more valuable resources.
I really appreciate it. Thank you, and I'm sure the same for you, Myra. So, but yeah, we'll always be in touch. So that's good. So, thank you for this, and I'm really humbled that you thought enough of me to interview me. So I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
No problem.
And this is Myra Dumapias signing off TCKid TV, reminding you to smile because you have a tribe, and reminding you to keep sharing your stories.